Negotiators looking for a solution to avert the fiscal cliff and also facing a political cliff, if you will. The stakes are incredibly high in this standoff as President Obama and House Speaker John Boehner look for support from their rank and file and, of course, from the American people. Who comes out ahead? Who's the big loser with a capital L? Let's bring in our political insiders. John LeBoutillier, former Republican congressman for New York. Pat Caddell, Fox News contributor, former pollster for President Jimmy Carter. Doug Schoen, also a Fox News contributor and a former pollster for Bill Clinton. All right, gentlemen, good to see you.
Good to see you.
Happy
Merry
New Year, all that.
Happy New Year.
Joe Lieberman said today, and you know, I mean, he's a pretty straight shooter.
Yeah.
He's leaving. He doesn't have an axe to grind. He said, this is really the first time that I felt it's more likely that we're going to go over the cliff than not.
Well, with the collapse of the Republican plan last Thursday, Greg, and the fact that the president is really putting forward the same proposal he's been proposing for weeks, if not months now.
Right.
There's no consensus. Everybody's left town, and we've only got 9 days, and for 4 of those days, everybody's on vacation.
Boehner couldn't even get the support of his own party on his Plan B solution. How much of a fiasco was that, Pat?
I would say right up there with the really fiascos politically of our time.
Right.
There's been a steady series of these. But you know, there's a larger fiasco going on. And it has to do with the president, the House, everyone, leadership. The inability in this society to get anything together, leadership, to get a solution to real problems. And it's just all politics. But Boehner has really blown this up.
Greg, I want to ask this question.
He used to be in Congress, you tell him.
Yeah, well, first of all, I do not understand how the majority leader, Eric Cantor, on the day of the Plan B vote, Thursday, kept telling the press, we have the votes, we're going to vote, and we're going to win the vote.
He should have already known.
He should have known. Now, we've since learned that one of the members of the whip organization, this is like an assistant coach who goes out and tells the Congress people, the speaker wants you to vote for this, you're going to vote for it.
Right.
Marsha Blackburn was telling people, I'm not voting for it. Now, for her to be on the whip team, Boehner's team,
and not voting for it.
Not voting and telling members means there's utter chaos inside.
How extraordinary is it, John, as somebody who was in the caucus, for something like this to happen?
This is unheard of. And first of all, to defy, when the Speaker of the House, who's in your own party, gets up and asks you to vote for something, for you not to do it is very difficult.
Is his speakership in trouble?
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, I say that because there is no coherence in the Republican Party. He was rebuked Thursday, and bottom line, the only thing he has going for him is there's no organized opposition.
But, you know, I want to be fair here. The flip side is President Obama. He is being criticized for being utterly uninvolved, detached, almost disinterested in the actual negotiations. He scarcely spends a minute on it in earnest discussions. And a lot of people say, look, he's just not serious about reducing the debt. He doesn't really think it's a problem. He wants to expand government.
He wants to expand government. He wants to raise taxes. That's what he's about. But you know what? Can you imagine that Lyndon Johnson or even Bill Clinton would not have been in a room, hammered these guys,
they
and then we would have these tirelessly
24
to get a
hours
deal.
a day.
This president's on vacation and said, I give you a plan that no one should vote for, but here you go.
Did you see what he said to Boehner last week?
Oh, that was great.
Which is, I will go after you in the State of the Union and in the inaugural if you don't come along. Not, I have a plan that the American people want. So it's really, I think he wants to go over the cliff.
And more than that, the Journal said yesterday in an article on how we got here, quoting the president telling Boehner said, look, I'm giving you $800 million, $800 billion in taxes. Don't I get anything for that? And he said, no.
He said, that's free. That's
free.
mine.
That's mine. That's free.
John Barrasso, very revealing, powerful guy in the U.S. Senate. He's chairman of the Republican Policy Committee. He said today on Fox News Sunday, I believe the president is eager to go over the cliff for political reasons because he senses victory at the bottom.
Well, there is victory of the at the bottom, but it's a hollow victory because he'll win politically. But bottom line, there is no consensus to find a deal on the terms
Well,
of
but
both.
see, now I think there is a deal. Now, Obama's latest deal on the table is extend all the Bush tax cuts for everybody under 250,000, extend for 2 million people the unemployment benefits, and then put on hold sequestration for 110 billion in spending cuts until next year. Now, Harry Reid's going to put that on the table for a vote this week, right?
Yes.
Yep.
All right, then it's up to Speaker Boehner to put it up for a vote in the House. And won't he have all the Democrats and enough moderate Republicans?
Not so quick. He might, but let me tell you, there's another fly in that ointment. The president's demanding that the debt ceiling vote, that they raise the debt ceiling.
Right.
That's going to be a part of this. There's no way the Democrats are going to want a proposition the president's going to sign that doesn't include giving him unilateral power on the debt ceiling. And then I'm back to the point the Republicans should have made debt an issue a long time
Republicans will
ago.
never go along with
And
it.
they'll never go along. They should have made it an issue. They should have brought this. We said this on this program 3 weeks ago.
Let me say something politically about it. If Obama thinks the Republicans are going to get all the blame for going over the cliff, they will get a lot of the blame.
Of course. But he will too.
He's
In the
going to
long
get
term, he
more
will.
than he realizes.
Yep.
That he is supposed to be seen as the president of everybody, that he can get this thing done. And if he can't get it done after being reelected, he is going to be hurt by this more than people now realize.
And he matters because he's president. But if we have a recession, he's not going to be able to stand there and say, "Oh, they did it. I had
But
nothing to
taxes
do
are
with
going to
it."
go up on everybody, even if they pass Obama's plan, because it doesn't do anything about payroll taxes. That goes up on everybody. Or the AMT, the alternative minimum
to
tax. That
mention
means,
healthcare
what, 30
taxes
million
coming.
people see their taxes
Or
go
the
up?
taxes from Obamacare, which are
It's all
also
going
going to hit
January.
investment income. Greg, a former senator I saw today said, you know, this is a huge opportunity for the president. Instead of coming back with a narrow plan like the one you described, if he came out now with a big plan that did entitlements, that did defense, did spending,
Simpson
and said,
Bowles.
yeah, Simpson Bowles revised,
time.
let's go forward, we could get a deal. But you know what, Greg? It'll never happen.
Will Republicans, Pat, regret that they didn't vote for Plan B because they may end up with this latest Obama proposal?
They may well feel like they did in August 11. They should have taken a deal then, as John was saying to me earlier. But look, the real problem the Republicans should regret is never having a public strategy, having gotten taxes, whatever they were going to do, off the table early on, like Plan B or whatever, and done that and made their case about the debt and been in this national debate because they paid the price.
They never talk economic growth.
Never talk economic growth or an idea.
All right. Well, the nation united in grief, mourning the victims of the Sandy Hook Elementary School as they were laid to rest. And now Washington looking for ways to prevent this kind of tragedy from happening yet again. But will this debate go the way of the fiscal cliff talks, with mudslinging replacing rational discussion? Well, maybe not. Let's bring back John LeBoutillier, Pat Caddell, and Doug Schoen, our political insiders. Gentlemen, let's start with Gallup, a very revealing poll because they asked for solutions to prevent this from happening again. We'll put it up on the screen. And what you get from all of these numbers is, Pat, it's pretty balanced, isn't it?
People want a solution that involves what are you going to do about protecting the schools, mental health problems, decrease of violence, as well as, and although fourth, the ban on assault and semi-automatics. Given all the publicity, you wouldn't know the American people have a balanced approach because we've had, on the one hand, people who have only one piece of the agenda, which is doing something about guns, and they've had it for a while. And then you have the NRA doing what it's doing on the other end. And what we're getting is the same kind of discussion we see in the fiscal cliff, a lack of leadership. And that poll shows the American people want a balanced approach, and they want real leadership.
A lack of leadership and the extremes dominating the debate in both issues, fiscal cliff and guns, whereas this is middle of the road. If you look at those numbers, any logical person would say we've got to look not just at guns, but these mentally ill young men that seem to be the ones perpetrating these acts, who get their mitts on these guns and who spend hours sitting on a computer playing violent video games all day. And they're,
All right, Doug, Wayne LaPierre waited a week, and then he spoke out. He's the CEO of the NRA. And, he blamed everybody under the sun, everything except for weapons. He suggested putting armed guards in schools all across America, which, by the way, is something that Bill Clinton recommended after Columbine. But nevertheless, the tone and the tenor of his remarks. Was that a public relations disaster?
A complete disaster, Greg. What Wayne LaPierre should have done is, I look forward to working, as my colleague suggested, with people of goodwill across the political spectrum, whether they agree with me or not, to find a solution. Because the American people believe in the Second Amendment, but they just as strongly believe in rational and reasonable steps to control gun use and to make sure that appropriate security steps are taken. That's not what Wayne LaPierre emphasized, said, or made clear.
And let's just put up the Rasmussen poll. 86% of Americans want more to be done on mental illness, because what we have seen in some of the most recent mass killings is a mental health issue. There's something that Americans can reach a consensus on. Let me switch now to Benghazi. Critical report came out, independent report evaluating the security lapses at the State Department. People in Benghazi at the mission there had been begging for more security, for help, didn't get it. What do you take away from this?
Well, I think the first thing is we had a report that basically took care of all the underlings, but still didn't answer the fundamental questions. And they're not going to be answered or really held account until the Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton, testifies. Now, she's been recovering from her concussion, and that's fine. But I think that it's got to be made clear to the administration, which I think thinks it might slip the noose here of hearings, or skip the point and get Kerry as Secretary of State, who they announced this week. I'm telling you what, it's a very simple matter. You do not move forward on his nomination approval to be Secretary of State until the current Secretary of State has testified under oath about what happened. Simple.
One of the things that this report doesn't answer is who refused the pleas for help and a rescue
and who's
during
gonna,
the 7-hour-long siege
and
at
what
that mission.
Investigative body is going to be asking that question of administrative people under oath? This is what the Senate is not going to do it, I don't think. Maybe the House will, but as Pat used the term escape the noose, we're now 3 months since this thing happened.
Petraeus says CIA didn't refuse those requests, and that means, according to the American Spectator, quote, Obama's fingerprints are all over this refusal.
You know, we don't have a timeline, a narrative, and a sense of who said what when, and we don't know in the White House.
Are we going to get it?
I don't think we are, but we don't know in the White House what the National Security Advisor
I think
and his meetings are doing.
Guys, we're out of time. I'm so sorry. Our political insiders, Pat Caddell, John LeBoutillier, Doug Schoen. Guys, great to see you. You can follow them on Twitter at FN Insiders. They're going to take a well-deserved break, and they'll be back here January 6th, so mark it on your calendar. Heather?